Hi, I'm CJ and this is my RC channel. Okay, the first step is to take this large bracket that is going to support one side of the center spindle, and it's going to hold the motor, and that gets let's see, where are the three holes in question? Oh yeah, it's up, it's forward mount. Okay, so here, I was misreading the directions. Okay, so it's basically gonna mount right here, like that. I'm filming, honey. Okay, what's up? Okay, now that we have this bracket in place, we're going to take our center drive and we're going to, well, first we need to put on this bracket here and this bracket back here. We're going to get our dog bones in place. Can lower this down. There we go. Okay, so hold this piece down with your finger as you rotate the assembly upside down. Take the two M410 countersunk screws and get them started. Okay, now if those are tight, I'm going to take this bracket here, and that attaches back here to the two countersunk holes. It drops underneath there. Just get one of them started and not fully tightened down, just leave it a little loose while you get the second one started. And then tighten them both. Okay. This bracket, the two upper cross pieces go on the left and right hand sides. Just snap that down in place. Then this bracket attaches with the fork facing forward. And out of that pack we have 4 screws remaining. The 2 long ones go in the front. Like so. And the 2 shorter ones in the rear. Now this is carbon fiber, so don't overly torque this down. You don't want to split or crack the carbon fiber. Just get them good and snug. Okay, so on to the next step. And we're working on steering assembly. This is bag number 8, step 26. Okay, starting to put the steering assembly together. The first parts you need is this piece here that has these strange pointed shapes in here. And then you need this piece here, which has similar shapes as well. Those are going to be opposite to each other and is going to plug in like that. And what happens is, as you can see, when you pull on one against the other, it tries to rise up. Okay, that's going to press down against the large spring that is right here. So the next piece is this threaded tube with the bolt at the top. That's going to slide down in here and just press it in place. Okay, then we're going to put the spring in place here. Then there's this foam piece. Pull the center out. We don't need the center. We just need the foam tube. Place that around the spring. It's kind of like a dust cap or a dust cover to prevent dust and grime from getting up into the assembly here. I'd go ahead and pull it all the way down, and then we're gonna thread this cap in between the spring, and it's gonna go around that tube that we put in from the top, and we're gonna screw this down. And there's a measurement we need to make here. So I'm going to get out my caliper. And we need 4.5 millimeters of thread coming through the base here. And that's basically going to be a measurement for the tension on this spring. So I've got a good ways to go yet. And that is really tough to turn. It's hard on your hands, that's for sure. If you do this with a pair of pliers, make sure that the slot is upwards and you're pushing down over it. If you push it like this and hold it with the pliers, you're going to squeeze that gap and you're going to make it even harder on yourself to tighten. Let's just get a measurement here before I go further. Okay, that is 4.64, so I'm going to back it off a little bit. A little more. And back just a hair. There we go. Close enough, 4.52. So as you can see, the foam is nicely compressed here, and that is going to prevent any dust from getting up in here. So there is our mechanism, and you can't even move that with your fingers. It would take a lot of force. So that's a very tight servo saver there. So next step is to build our linkages, and to do the linkages we need one angled piece or divoted piece, however you want to describe it. There's basically two different types. So, and we need them in pairs like this, one of each and one of each. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I'm going to put those linkages together and we'll continue. Almost forgot to mention there's a little Allen screw that's a 2x10, M2x10, excuse me. And that just screws in here to clamp down this fitting so that it doesn't twist off or loosen. And don't over tighten that. You don't want it to tear threads or snap. It's a very thin screw. Okay, so I've made the two arms, and let's see. One thing I should have done differently was to, I'm going to switch these. Okay, if you look closely at your knuckles here, they have a notch in them. The notch basically points to which side, it indicates a direction. Okay, so you ideally want the notch to be facing the same direction on all sides. That way the rotation is going to be the same. Otherwise you're going to have one twisting one way and one twisting the other way to tighten and or loosen, and having them consistent is helpful. So at least understand that that's there and recognize that. So I'm going to go ahead and redo this one so it points the right way. And that's just a matter of, you know, putting this one on this side and this one on this side without moving the control rod. So on to the assembly of our steering. We're going to be, okay, that's up and that's up. So we're going to be linking these two pieces together with this bearing crossbar, and to do that we need a pair of M312s, and those look like M312s, round head, and we need a couple of 3x6 by 0.5 washers and a couple of lock nuts. So the lock nuts are easy. It's those two, and the washers are going to be these little silver ones. They would not be the larger black ones. The larger black ones might press on this on the bearing outside of the inner reese, and you don't want that. So you're just gonna slide one through, and wait a second, I'm not sure I got the right size there. Wait. Let's see. Oh, these go in from below. I see. There's a hole here, the shape of the nut. So you're gonna put one nut into each of these. I would start by sliding one of these bolts through with nothing on it and just start the nut. And that way you've got it pointing straight up and down, and that makes it easier to press in and know that you're not going to have it be misaligned. Now I can unscrew this. Let's give that a little press to make sure it's in all the way. Yep. Okay. So again, that's not upside down. I'm always, let's see, is that the right? It doesn't seem like those are long enough. Those are the 12s. Maybe this nut just isn't down in that, isn't seated down far enough. Let's try. What? Okay, I'm going to try going without the bar in place. I'm just going to thread this in and try to pull that nut down into the hole. Yeah, and as you can see, the nut is disappearing right down into the socket. So once you've got it seated, and you can unscrew and do the same thing to the other piece. So again, the nut goes in from underneath. Slide the screw through. Get the nut started. You see how I'm doing that? I've got the nut in place now. Now that I've got a bolt on it, I know it's going to go straight down. You press it in as far as you can with your finger, and then tighten it down, and that pulls the nut into the plastic fitting all the way in. Just keep turning it until it won't turn anymore, and then back it out. And that nut is now pressed in there. It's not going to fall out. So if you need to make an adjustment, if for some reason you need to take that bar off in the field, that nut is not going to drop out on you. It's going to stay pressed in place. So now we can attach this, and looks like there's an upside and a downside. The upside is the grooved side, and that's gonna hold the bearing in. So if you do it if you do it upside down, the bearing might pop out, or the rod might pop off the bearings. So make sure you place it with the groove side facing up. And there's supposed to be a bearing underneath there. I forgot that as I left the bearing on the bolt. So again, groove side up, slide the bolt through, slide the bearing in place. Slide the washer in place, and tighten down. Okay, now we have a nice free moving arm, bolt, washer on the opposite side, and anchor this down. So there are our two steering arms. And our next step is to mount the two turnbuckles. They are going to face outwards like that. And we are going to need a pair of M3x20s countersunk. We're going to need a pair of ball fittings. We're going to need that's interesting. They don't identify what that item is there. Looks like these two nylon bolts here, but they don't identify them in the directions. They just show them. There's nothing on the parts list down here regarding them. I'm guessing that applies to the previous page, but wait a second. I think yes, here we go. Okay, we've got a little parts pack here that I hadn't opened, and there are a pair of what look like nut bolts, but they're not. They're just nylon, and they're kind of conical shaped on top. And it looks like one of those each goes into the hex fitting on the end of these steering arms here. Okay, that looks like that's going to be something to make sure it goes in straight. So I'm going to start by snapping these in place. Okay, so the countersink bolt drops into the what would normally be the back side of the ball fitting, but it's going to be the top side, and there's a countersink hole drilled in there, so that slides in flush like that. Okay, and then we're going to take one of these nylon nuts that aren't really nuts, and we're going to press that in here. Oh, it really is tough getting those things in. Don't want to deform or crush one of them. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. You can try this however you want. There's a conical shape there, and this ball is conical shaped. I'm going to slide a bolt through there. I'm going to slide it through this fitting. It's not quite long enough. I wish I had a longer one. God. Everything's got to be difficult. Okay. There is no... There's nothing different about the shape of this. It's just, you know, a hexagon. Okay, I've got it started. I'm going to go ahead and press with a pair of pliers and try not to damage it in any way. Okay, boom, it's in. Okay, that's one. I'm going to do the other while I'm right here. This is a very odd assembly in my opinion. I don't see that there's much benefit from doing it this way. Maybe those are just a harder plastic. I'm not sure. Okay. This one goes in like that. Is there any washers or anything? Doesn't look like it. And one regular hex bolt below. Go ahead and snug that down. Okay, there is the bulk of our steering mechanism. Flip pages here. I wish they would have provided a printed copy. It's definitely nice to have one. I mean, yes, they do give you a soft copy on a flash drive, but if you don't have, you know, easy access to a printer, you know, kind of a pain. Okay, so we have these two identical pieces, and this is a shape that is designed to fit into this cutaway in the fuselage, so that holds it in place like a blind nut. And we're going to need a pair of M4 by 10 countersinks, and we're going to screw these in from beneath. Good thing I'm semi-ambidextrous with a screwdriver. Okay, the other one goes in on this side right here. There you go. You just want to kind of feel around until you know it's seated into that slot. And once it's in the cutaway, just hold it with your finger, let the chassis rest on it, and then you can tighten it down. There we go. Okay, so next step. Okay, we're going to need a pair of bearings. Now there's two types. Or are there? Okay, let's take a look. I'm looking to see if either of these have any type of rim. Nope. Okay, so we should be sliding a pair of these down onto here in place. Okay, now direction here is going to be very important. Okay, these need to be facing forward, like so. Okay, so we can lower these down onto the bearings, and they should just snug onto them. Yep. Okay, and then we should be able to put the two remaining bearings in from above, like that. 1 and 2, and there's our steering assembly there. Okay, so on top of those, what do they anchor down with? And they don't show it. Last. Okay, I'm going to leave these in place right here, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the remaining pieces of hardware, and what remains will show us what we, and I'll bet I know exactly what it is. Okay, there's these two conical shaped like black caps. I'll bet you those are going to bolt right on top like that. Or do they bolt upside down? It looks like they bolt upside down. Yeah, they've got enough of a, that's why they have a little bit of a conical fitting, and then they've got an inner lip. Let me see if I can get this in close enough for you. Let me shine the light directly here. Okay, there's an inner hole there, an inner lip or ring, and that is going to rest on the top of that kind of brown brassish fitting, colored fitting, the stalk for the steering. And then the conical edge is going to overlap the plastic and hold it down. So that is going to be our anchor point. And as to which screws here, I am guessing that, let me see, those take a 20, 12. Okay, I'm just going to leave these two off for the moment, and I'm going to eliminate everything else. I see now. Okay, the bolts that hold those down are not shown in this segment here. They're shown over here. I am correct about those black conical washers. Those will be covered by this piece of framework here, the carbon fiber, and like that. And an M4 by 10, one of these same bolts that we've done so many things with throughout this build, is going to come down from above into the conical fittings on the carbon fiber and anchor them off. So that is that. So first we got to do all this other stuff here, and then last we will do those. You know what, actually we can do those now, because then we can go ahead and worry about these two arms and their fittings. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to take the two black aluminum conical washers, put them in upside down. We're going to position our carbon fiber plate on top here. We'll take the two 12mm flatheads or button heads and put those in place. Just gonna lightly tighten them. We'll come back around for a final tightening. Just want to have them in position. And then the four M4 by 10s. And again, lightly tighten. So the reason you want to lightly tighten stuff like this is because they're countersunk. If things aren't properly positioned, the countersinking can move the piece around, so you want to make sure you line everything up, get all the bolts started, and then the final tightening will kind of sync everything up. Okay, and from here we can start tightening. You don't have to do any kind of star pattern because everything is already in place. This isn't like a wheel on a car. Remember, carbon fiber, don't over tighten and risk splitting it. Okay, so there is our full steering assembly. That's really beautiful the way it just fits in just perfectly underneath that frame piece. Okay, so we need to, I am kind of curious as to why they have these cutaways here, but they face them outwards instead of inwards. I would think you would want them inwards for any kind of clearancing, but there's nothing they're going to run against anyway, so it makes me wonder why it's there at all. But okay, let's go ahead and pop these into place. It's a little harder to do when they're attached. There we go. 1 and 2. Now again, just like the inner ones, you pop them in with the conical wide section facing up. Okay, that's in. So we have a pair of 3x20s that are countersunk, drop into there. And then there are a couple of washers. We have a pair of flanged nuts for the bottom, which are lock nuts. There are a pair of silver or chrome, as you want to call them, look like aluminum washers that are conical shaped. You're going to have the cone facing up, the narrow end facing up, and then you'll have one of these black washers below it. So, silver, black, facing up. The silver is facing up, followed by the black one. And let me just review here. And it's a pair of black washers. Now that may be to give you the opportunity to remove one or two of the black washers. The angle of this connecting rod here can make a difference, whether it's high or low. So let me just check the spec sheet for a moment. And that's my wife coming in the door with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Woohoo! Hey babe, I'll be right down. I'm filming. I just need to finish this one little thing and I'm on my way. Okay, so the wide flange nut goes on from below. And that is one linkage complete. As you can see, we have a stack of two black washers followed by the silver conical washer. So I am going to do this side in a few minutes after I've had dinner. Okay, so I bolted the other side on, same as this one. The silver conical washer, two black washers, and then on the underside, the flanged bolt. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.